Good evening, everyone. For this week, for week 3, we were told to go online and review a web article that dealt with fake news. Now, with that being said, I did a lot of research, and while I was doing the research, I actually was thinking who is affected the most about fake news. Well, I really couldn't find anything that I really connected with until I came across an article that was actually written and published in the New York Times on September 11th, 2020. It was written by a Paula Spann. The name of the article is Getting Wise to Fake News. Now, the article is discussing how the older generation has less experience in being able to discern real news from fake news on social media platforms. One thing while I was reading the article that really stood out to me the most and made me want to keep reading was I had found it interesting because it's a potential risk for not only the older generation, it's actually a risk for everyone in our nation, if you actually think about it. And Ms. Spann states in the article, researchers from Princeton and New York University determined that sharing articles from fake news sources, outlets that propagate false or misleading content masquerading as legitimate news, was rare. But but those who did engage with such outlets were far more likely to be older than 65. But those who did engage with such outlets were far more likely to be older than 65. The cohort shares twice as many articles from phony sites as 45 to 65-year-olds and nearly 7 times as many articles as the younger groups. Ms. Spann later goes to explain that anyone over the age of 50 was 80% more likely to have interacted or shared with misleading and had pretty much shared misleading information or fake content. That's what really struck out to me the most is our older generation. We look to them for guidance and knowledge. They are our elders. Now, one thing that really stood out to me the most is they know how to discern from fake news and real news when it comes to newspapers, magazines, when even on television, they know how to discern that. But they don't when it comes to social media. That is the main thing that really stood out to me the most is yes, the older generation is online. They are going through and engaging in more things when it comes to social media. But how can they tell the difference when it comes to sharing information on social media? How can they tell it's real? How can they tell it's fake? They have no idea. So I actually reached out to my grandmother, and my grandmother, her explanation was, I don't get online and look at news. I don't turn on the television to watch the news. I read in the paper about our town, but I stay away from news because all news has a chance of being fake and getting a whole lot of people upset for nothing. That was actually the best advice I had ever had in a long time from my grandma, but check out this article. It's actually really interesting. Once you get to reading in there, you actually see that a 75-year-old woman was actually taken advantage of on social media because she found someone who was claiming to be a news person and they were needing money. Well, they got a lot of money out of her and found out that it was fake. Check it out.